of the closing doors, please.
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, and now on YouTube. Join with me today, the designated hitter for tonight, my guy, Andrew Calagna. What's up, brother?
How's it going? Ready to talk about the topics that are not only on the minds of the sports world, but the nation itself. I'm very excited about the new Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PS and PlayStation. If you grew up in the '90s and were a big fan of the side scroller beat 'em up type of games, I played a little bit today. And it's fantastic. It's all the nostalgia. Great time to revisit a bunch of old classic games. I'm not sure how big you were into Ninja Turtles as a kid, but man, those NES and Super Nintendo games are better than ever. So I'm really happy and really excited. I'm sure everybody's out there playing it right now.
Yeah, they hit you right in the feels of the games like that, you know? Now, let me ask you, I feel like I saw online some trailers of the gameplay and whatnot, but how much did they improve the graphics, and how much did you want them to improve the graphics? Because I feel like the simplistic look is probably part of the nostalgia.
Well, yeah, they give you a bunch of customizable options. So if you want it on like that retro, you can have like different filters. So if you want it to look like you're on like an old CRT, you can put like a filter like that where you have like the scan lines and stuff like that.
Wow. Using a
the
worse
game-
way to look at the screen, that's amazing.
Yeah.
No,
If
you
want
to know how privileged we are as a society, you can choose to make your TV crappy.
Exactly. Just have that old school feel of terrible television.
That's great.
So you can expand, you can make it like widescreen, so it's like zoomed in, but it's got like cool borders, and you can look at like the old box arts of like all the games, and they have like strategy guides and manuals. Like it's like for $40, like it's absolute buy. Absolute
buy. Love that.
Absolute
buy. That reminds me of Leonard in Community with the frozen pizzas.
It's a buy.
This is definitely a buy. I actually have
Leonard likes this post.
I have a fun fact for you as well. This is something that you would consider starting off the podcast with, but I'll do it on this episode here. So Dan Clark Sports on Twitter, Dan Clark tweeted this out, an amazing nugget for all sports fans. August 29th, 2001. Serena Williams wins at the U.S. Open. Albert Pujols hits a home run. Vlad Guerrero Sr. hits a home run. Oh, I'm sorry. Vlad Guerrero Sr., Craig Biggio, and Dante Bichette all record a hit. On August 29th, 2022, Serena Williams wins at the U.S. Open. Albert Pujols hits a home run. Vlad Guerrero Jr., Kevin Biggio, and Bo Bichette all record a hit. How about that, Andrew? If that's not sports in a nutshell, the beauty of it, of the history, then what is? I don't know.
You see this? I got goosebumps right here, just from that fact, my friend.
That's beautiful. Isn't that just like something that's a heartwarming tweet to read on a Tuesday, and it just makes you go, wow. First of all, we're all getting
Albert
old.
Pujols and Albert Pujols is very old.
And he's on fire right now. He's killing it. He's one of the best 10 hitters in baseball for the last month. Like, what? It's insane. It's a really hard flex on Vlad Sr., Craig Biggio, and Dante Bichette. That Pujols is just like, yeah, bro, I'm still out here. You could not stop the machine. It's just insane. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Pujols is old, but you know there's like the rumor going around where he like fudged his birth certificate. So like you can understand why he's been bad for so many years now, because I think like actually he's like 46. And he's, which makes it more impressive what he's doing right now. But like you can understand that like his aging curve like dropped off because he signed everyone, he thought he signed when he was like 32 of the Angels, when realistically he signed when he was like 37.
Wow.
So
Albert Pujols is almost 50 is what we're
yeah, basically, yeah. That's the strongly sourced rumor that he fudged his birth certificate when he came to the US to seem younger and to sign with a baseball team. So 47-year-old Albert Pujols getting the job done right now.
How about that? And good for him. I think it worked out okay in his career.
I think
You
so
know,
too.
so good
You
for
think
Poo.
he's gonna get 700? Do you think he's gonna
I have
get
a
there?
feeling. I think he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna get there. He needs what, 6 more right now in about a
Yeah.
month and a half. Not even.
Mhm.
If he gets to like 698, does he have to come back until he just hit 700? Or does he just call
Yeah.
it?
I think he's gonna call it no matter what. But I feel like with him, especially because his career has been like such an up and down thing. If he's going out on such a high note, like you don't want to come back next year and then
Right. Be
try to
terrible.
chance it. Yeah, do like 2014 Derek Jeter and just be like a nuisance to the team, especially when you got your goodbye tour anyway. You know.
And how about like Alex Rodriguez at 696 home runs and the Yankees just
Yeah.
not playing him?
Yeah.
They're just
Well,
like,
that's
nope, no at bats for you, Alex.
yeah.
They weren't even good that year. That was the annoying part to me. I remember being so annoyed that year. That was the one of the
Mhm.
only years the Yankees weren't even close to being a contender, and
Yeah.
he just wasn't getting at bats. I'm like, well, why is he on the team? And then finally, they just got rid of him. I was like, all right, well, if you're gonna cut ties, at least they cut ties because that
Yeah,
was
and that's
stupid.
and they called up Judge and Austin something, and they
Romine?
hit Austin. No, Austin, not Austin Kearns. So he got into a fight with like a Red Sox pitcher too, like shortly thereafter. But they hit back to back home runs
Mm,
in their Yankee debut.
mm.
I'm gonna
And then
have to
Judge
look
was
that up.
pretty terrible the rest of that year, if you remember as
Yeah,
well,
yeah, he was.
which
He
is
pulled a yeah,
hilarious.
and
And
then he
now here we are. Alex Rodriguez stuck on 696, stuck doing very mediocre to bad broadcasts on ESPN, and Albert Pujols still hitting home runs. Shout out to Albert Pujols. All right, let's
mhm.
get back on track here. We're here to talk baseball. No Alec Argento tonight or today, whenever you listen to this, to talk baseball with us. That's okay. We got Alec, we got Andrew and myself. Talk some Yankees, talk some Mets. I have a statement to declare after we talk baseball in regards to football. It's a statement that I'm putting my flag in the ground on a take, on a stance, and you guys will have to hang tight to hear what that is because I finally decided today that my flag's going in the ground, and I'll let you know about it later. Maybe
It,
sprinkle in a couple fantasy questions later. Yeah, Andrew.
it's a Tyler Austin. That was the
Tyler
player that
Austin.
judgment.
Hmm,
I knew there was an Austin in there.
you got it. Um,
But anyway,
ancient history for Tyler Austin. He hasn't been on the team for 3 years. All right,
yeah.
so let's now talk about this current roster. Talk about call-ups, throwing back to Aaron Judge a couple of years back, more like 6 years back at this point now. But talk about call-ups. We talk about the health of a roster. There's a lot of things going on in Yankee world right now, Andrew, and most of which are not good because you think about this series over the weekend and you lose one to the A's and you say, okay, you're not going to win every game. You're not going to sweep even the worst opponents all the time, but we're going to obviously clean up 3 out of 4 on this one. No, still didn't happen. They lose and they split, which feels like getting swept by the A's, right? Like if you split with the A's and you're the Yankees right now, that feels like getting swept basically, and it's really tough
It's
to go through that. So
especially when you win the first two games of that series. Like you win the first two, and you're like, okay, we'll at least go 3 out of 4, and then you like just look completely disinterested the next two games, and then the first game versus the Angels too. Like like the offense just looks like it doesn't want to be there, and it's just like the lethargicness of guys just having terrible bats. Gleyber Torres, he was on fire the first half, and in the second half he's been absolutely awful. Um, just absolutely just like one of the worst hitters in all of baseball. The second half, so it's just it's really unfortunate for the team as a whole. So
yeah,
God,
it,
and it's Aaron Judge can only do so much, and he's doing his thing. He hit his 50th home run last night, but as he said in the post game interview, they asked him, what is it like to hit 50 home runs? He's like, it doesn't matter because we didn't win the game. Yeah, and it's nice and all. I think that's a nice thing to distract Yankee fans is this this chase for to break the American League home run record, and some might say the legitimate home run record
some
in
might
all
say.
of baseball. Some might say. I wouldn't say. I don't think you would say either. But
I wouldn't.
maybe some of the old heads would call him the legitimate home run champion. But that's secondary right now to everything else going on with the offense. Again, there's even with Stanton coming back. DJ LeMahieu's been hurt. He had some kind of foot and toe issue, which he hasn't really recovered from. Rizzo having back issues. The starting rotation, more injuries. Cortez goes down the IL. They have an entire bullpen's worth of injuries. There's kind of a very, different dynamic than it was at the beginning of the season when you had 5 starters, throwing all those innings. And now, the only guy left standing, I think it's Taillon and Cole from the beginning of the year, and everybody else has had to step in. So, and, they dealt a lot of their upper minor league depth at the deadline. They dealt Sears and Waldichuk and Wazensky, so they're right at the top of it, just in their pitching depth overall. Like when Chapman went down because apparently we turned into the Mets and he's got to go on the IL because he got an infection from a tattoo.
Yep.
That's such a Mets thing
over the weekend. It was great. It was
That's
great to
such
be
a
on the other side of it.
That's such a Mets thing to happen to them. The Yankees didn't have anyone to call up. That's how much depth they used. Like their 40-man roster was full, and they said, okay, we're going to play the game a roster move down. We're going to play with 25 players instead of a 26-man roster because we literally have nobody to call up. And so it's a really dire kind of situation, not only for the offense, but for the pitching as well.
Yeah, so it leads me to a lot of questions, which we're going to get into all of them. And we'll do a little blame game in a minute here because I was working the radio station overnight going into Sunday, or I guess Saturday night into Sunday morning. I was at the Fan, and people are calling in for Aaron Boone's head. Like, obviously, right? They're calling in for Cashman's head. They're calling in about this player being terrible. And you expect the negativity after a loss like that. The bunt decision from Benintendi, who has been the second best hitter on the team for the past, month, basically, or 2 weeks at minimum. It's all really frustrating. So we're going to talk about that, play a little blame game. But quickly, I asked you a couple weeks back, Andrew, about like a benchmark for OPS. I know you gave me the OPS plus to look at, which helps you kind of differentiate versus league average, et cetera. But just looking at this over the last 15 games, the Yankees, how many people or how many players do you think, Andrew, have an OPS of 800 or above?
Over the last 8 games?
Over the last 15 games or 15
Over the
games.
last 15 games? Oh, God.
That's 2 weeks, basically.
2.
Correct. Aaron Judge, 924, obviously really good. And Andrew Benintendi, 805. That's it.
Go.
Okay, now wait. It gets, don't look it up either. It gets better.
No, not.
How many people, including those two, you have 2 already. How many people, including those, are 700 and above?
700 above.
2 plus 2 plus what?
2 plus another 2.
Correct again. Josh Donaldson, 742. Anthony Rizzo, 720. After that, everybody's below 700. You got 2 more guys in the 600s, 2 guys in the 500s, and then you're all below that. And that's all people who are playing. They don't have 3 games and gone 2 for 15, right? Like it wasn't one of those, they just had an average series and whatever. No, all those people, 1 through 9 people, have played a double-digit number of games, and 2 people have above 800, 2 people have above 700. That's terrible. It's really bad. So it's not even like the offense is, totally sporadic with the lineup, which it has been a little bit sporadic, obviously. Not everybody's in there every day. Stanton's not in there, obviously, for all 10 or 12 of those games in the last 2 weeks. But that's really bad, Andrew.
Yeah.
Hitting is abysmal. And the pitching, you could actually feel bad for and make an excuse because of the injuries. The hitting, however, is just a disaster right now. And like you said, it's lethargic and there's no urgency. And it's really tough to watch.
Yeah, and you would think that, like, I don't know, to kind of bring it back to the Aaron Boone thing and people confident when they were going through that tough tailspin, like there was a part of me when I think when they had, I forget which loss it was. There was a part of me when I went to bed, I was expecting to wake up with the news that Aaron Boone was going to be fired because that's how I swear to God, there was a part of me that was maybe it was hoping that would be the spark to light the fire, that to get everything going here, because at a certain point, I think the most troubling part about it is that the Yankees haven't they'll have these players, and they want to talk about hyping up prospects and all these things. They brought up like all these young players, and everyone except for Aaron Judge has gone backwards or is not with the team anymore. Or you talk about Miguel Andujar, who was a runner-up to Rookie of the Year, to Shohei Ohtani, and now he's not even getting. He's stuck in AAA. You have Gleyber Torres, who has as we talked about, he's gone backwards as a hitter, and he doesn't. I don't know what Boone or what the hitting coaches or what anybody they fired all the hitting coaches last year, so and nothing seems to improved on the offensive side. So it's like, what else do you do? Everyone has gone backwards in Boone, and Boone has been touted as this communicator of players but the results have not been there on the field. They just haven't been for a bunch of young players and guys that have gone backwards. And there have been some bright spots on the offense. I will say Trevino being one of the more interesting, and being an all-star coming out of nowhere. That's a really fun story, kind of grabbing the catcher position in a post-Gary Sanchez world. Being a top 10 catcher in the league, which is really surprising. But everywhere else, you expected, Josh Donaldson, he looks like he's cooked. He looks like he's done at 36. No bat speed. He's still very good defensively, which is his only saving grace right now, is he can still pick it at third base. But when you acquired him, you thought he was going to be, a middle of the order bat that you could depend on. But now he's a below replacement level player. I bet he was one of the guys that had an under 600 OPS.
No, he didn't actually. He has the third highest, which is basically showing how bad it is right now. He's got a 742, which is probably right below average, honestly. But that's just, again, that's his last 11 games. He's 9 for 37, 2 doubles and a home run.
I think his OPS for the year is his OPS for the year is just around just under 700. So it's not even like he's performing that well overall. So it's just
Well, so here's something I want to talk about, because again, we're going to play the blame game here. We're going to break up a percentage of who catches the blame for what and at one point. But obviously, so much of this conversation directs itself right at Aaron Boone, because it's been a talking point amongst Yankee fans since he's been hired, right? Since this guy has been hired, this has been widely discussed as, what does this guy bring to the table? He's just Cashman's puppet. He's just X. He's just Y. He's not Z, right? And we've been hearing it for 4 or 5 years now. There were times in the past where I was very happy to sit on this microphone and defend Aaron Boone, because he had years with injuries and with average-looking lineups, and they're winning 90-plus games, and they're winning a playoff series here. They're making some noise, and they're living above or at least at expectation, right? And it's really hard to get frustrated at somebody as a non-fan, as a non-Yankees rooter. It's hard for me to nitpick the minute little thing about Aaron Boone when I look at a team that's winning 90-plus games. Now, in a year like this, with the start that they got and all that's happening, I can easily go 2 ways. If this was a podcast between me and I was arguing myself, I could have an argument with myself, because I could make it up based off the injuries, based off how that bullpen looks right now, based off the offensive lineup that he has to work with day in, day out, right? So there's excuses that are there for Aaron Boone. However, the frustration is so far gone that it doesn't even matter. There's no sense of rationality for Yankees fans, and I don't blame them. I don't blame you guys. So, Andrew, with this complete frustration surrounding Aaron Boone, is there any part of you left that wants to hear an excuse, that wants to say, this is why it's happening, he's actually not that bad? Or are you in that camp, like so many others, that says, I don't care, I don't want to hear it? It's like Daniel Jones. I don't care, don't want to hear it, he's not that guy. Where are you at now on this camp? Is it completely done?
Yeah, it's just, again, until until I can be proven otherwise, because again, I was much like you. I was a stark defender of Boone, and even when he was first hired, I thought, okay, giving a guy who had zero experience as a manager or any kind of coaching level and coming straight from the broadcast booth, you know, I thought that was a little off, but I was willing to give him a chance, and I've given him plenty of chances over the years. But then to continue to just watch him get, outmanaged in crucial playoff games and leaving guys in, and he plays kind of favorites with certain guys, and he leaves them in too long. I remember when CC was, at the end of his rope, there were plenty of times, because they were buddies, that he would let him go out and, stay an inning or two too long, even when, CC was at like the end of his career. But even now, it's just like some of the bullpen moves that he makes. The one thing I will say in his favor is that, he's kind of pulled the plug out of the Aaron Hicks situation, because again, he looks so lost. If they continue to, yeah, he talked going into the year about being like a 30-30 guy. I don't even know he's going to go
10-10.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, or at least bring up a point, because something that I was thinking about that I didn't get a chance to talk with my boy Mike Fliegelman on the Fan the other night. I didn't get a chance to get this takeoff. I started to. I didn't quite get there. So I started saying, with managers, it's so often talked about that the best players don't often make the best managers. It's something that makes sense to a lot of people, right? Because the best players see the game at a different speed. They see, they're playing chess. They're playing chess. Other people playing checkers. You get the point, right? I use Jason Kidd as an example. When he first got his first head coaching job, he was overmatched. He was probably seeing the game so much faster than his players. He was frustrated, not communicating to his players what he had to, right? Had two stints that went pretty poorly for himself. And then now in Dallas, it's like a different guy. So he actually made an adjustment. We haven't seen adjustments from Aaron Boone, but Aaron Boone doesn't fit the mold of one of those players who was a star, who was this stud that was 2 steps ahead of everybody and just killing people on talent and what was it? Wherewithal. There we go. Wherewithal. Like, he was a role player. He was a guy who should be the type of person who becomes a great manager, because he should see all the little things that he had to do to get on the field, to stay in the league, to do this, to do that. However, and I don't want to speak out of pocket here, so please correct me if I'm wrong here, Aaron Boone wasn't that type of role player. He was the type of guy who came in off the bench or got a couple weeks of starts or a couple months of starts and was trying to hit dingers all the time. Like, he said it himself. He said it himself about himself as a hitter, that he went up there swinging for the fences, and it worked out in that one at bat for the Yankees in the playoffs, walk off against Boston, right? Yeah. So maybe the writing on the wall was there all along, that Boone wasn't the type of role player, fringe starter that used knowledge and a base of baseball fundamentals to become a great player. He had great talent for a guy to get to the league, not a great talent to be a dude in the league, to just be another guy. And he has
good family.
Of course, good, great family. His brother obviously was
his dad.
Much better hitter than him, and his dad was a good player too. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is Aaron Boone, or has Aaron Boone been overmatched from the start, with no rhyme or reason of him actually getting better? Because in reality, how hard, and again, I hate doing this because you're like attacking a person, but like, how hard did Aaron Boone have to learn the game, be that role player guy to make it where he did in the league? He didn't have to. He had a different path of getting to the league because of his family, because of the talent he had. He was a talented dude. So I feel like he is acting as if he's one of those guys who has all this clout and all this rope to pull on because of who he is, because he's well-spoken on TV, or he was well-spoken on TV. But in reality, he does nothing special to get this team prepared. That Benintendi bunt is the perfect example. If that was called by Boone, horrendous, right? If Boone called that bunt, that's a terrible play, because Benintendi has been the best hitter or second best hitter on this team over the past month, basically, right? Or past 2 weeks.
Yep.
So that's bad. And if the bunt worked out, Judge comes up with an open base and he's getting walked, and Donald that. So it makes no sense. Now, if Benintendi decided to try to sneak one on his own and get a bunt in, still bad on Boone. Still bad on Aaron Boone, because the best coaches are coaching all the time and constantly giving your players all the information they need to make the best decisions. So even if Benintendi went rogue, that still falls on Aaron Boone. So that all being said, it's officially time, and the Yankees fans are saying, no shit, it's been officially time forever. But it's officially time where this Band-Aid needs to be ripped off right after the season, unless you win a World Series. And right now, there's no reason to believe that's a possibility.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is that, like, you can't. If you were gonna fire him, you had to fire him like last month, and they were too early into the they were too early into the slide where that'd be a point. But if this team collapses and there's a first round playoff exit, then I think that absolutely has to be on the table, because it's at what point can you say enough's enough with this manager, and where's enough is enough, where this core of guys who with all this promise of 2017 has yet to be even close to fulfilled. 2017 is the closest they've gotten, and that's it. They've gotten the game 7 of the ALCS, and they haven't even gotten to that since then. So, and Aaron Judge is going to be a free agent. He's also 30, and Garrett Cole only has a couple of prime years left. Giancarlo Stanton only has a couple of prime years left. DJ LeMahieu might not even be in his prime any longer. So, like, how much longer can you allow this manager and this group to continue? And I still say that there is time for the Yankees to turn it around. It doesn't look like it, at their worst. It looks like sometimes that they'll never be able to score a run ever again. Like there was that point where, what was before the Mets series where they went like 19 innings with scoring like 2 hits or something like that. And I was like, they'll never score again. Like, you just, and then Aaron Boone slammed his hand on the table, and you thought that might fire guys up, but again, they kind of rolled back over now against the Angels and the A's, and we'll see what happens tonight. And like, I don't know, Frankie Montas really pissed me off. And I said in the group chat, I was just like, I'm officially okay with saying that Frankie Montas sucks, and hugging prospects and not going after Castillo, which it's still tough to say that, like, who knows what they were asking for, but letting him go and seeing the success he's had in Seattle, and how Montas now has like a over 7 ERA as a Yankee. It's this is supposed to be the guy who's supposed to be your number 2 starter, who, if the playoffs started today, I wouldn't want him anywhere near an important game right now. So there's not really much more I can say right now about this team. That it's just the vibes suck. The offense is terrible. The pitching, the injuries are stacking up to almost insurmountable means. But it is what it is. That's
it's true, man. It's really hard, and it must be how some of the players feel right now. Like, you think they care that Aaron Boone slammed the podium? You think they care? Like, you think that tuned anybody up? Anybody came in with some extra energy the next day? Like, I don't know. And it's so easy being in New York to just compare it to Buck Showalter, but it looks like, based off of the control that Buck has, that him and his players are having conversations constantly about what's going on, what's happening, what's our plan, what are our strengths, etc. Those things don't seem to take place in the Bronx. It doesn't seem to be a part of their repertoire. I'm
so confident in Buck Showalter in pressing the right buttons when they need to be pressed than Aaron Boone. Like, if the script doesn't go according to plan, he says my starter doesn't go 6 innings. He doesn't. I don't have a clean guy to start in the 7th, and a clean guy to start in the 8th, and a clean guy to start in the 9th. Then I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what to do. But Showalter, if he needs a pinch hitting opportunity, he needs to put. He always puts Tyler Naquin. Seems to always having big hits for the Mets. He always seems to put them in big spots to win. It's just a complete yin and yang on the opposite sides. You have one manager who he should be manager of the year. Absolutely, Buck Showalter in the NL, to some guy, who Brian Cashman famously said if the Yankees would have let him walk, he would have been the top managerial candidate in baseball, and that was just the most laughable thing ever.
That is hilarious, bro. I mean,
yeah.
that's the question you have to ask, right? If I say the same thing with Daniel Jones, and second time I'm making that comparison, I didn't know it was such a comparison. If this guy's on open market, where's he going? Is Aaron Boone back on ESPN booth next year if he's not a manager at the Yankees? Like that, yeah. He ain't managing another team right now. There's no other team that has a tie to him to do such a thing. If Daniel Jones isn't the quarterback of the Giants, is he a quarterback of another team right now? Absolutely not. Right? And
no, he's a backup anywhere else.
Right. So let's start to do our blame game here and put some percentages in the pie, because we have to talk some Mets still as well. But we have Boone, Cashman in front office, and we have the hitters and we have the pitchers. If you want to keep defense on the pitcher side, that's fine, whatever. So we have four parts here. We can start splitting it up. But last thing I want to do before that is, did you hear the Joe Madden quote by chance?
No.
I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have it up in front of me, but basically Joe Madden was doing a little presser down in Florida somewhere, or not a presser, talking to somebody. And he said that, I wish all these front office guys who are all about the numbers and the data and analytics would come sit in the dugout. And his point was, I want them to come sit in the dugout to feel the pressure, to feel the actual angst that happens during a baseball game. Because you could have the best data and the best numbers in the world. You can have all the decisions made in your book, right? But if you're in that dugout, if you see, you talked about Naquin, right? Taylor Naquin. If you see him all day moping around, does that matter? Or is he still the right guy? I don't know, right? Like, that's something that is very debatable. But I love that thought from Joe Madden, because people who sit in the dugout, who feel the interactions, the energy of every single player and coach on the team, have a different feel for stuff, right? And it never feels like Boone actually combines the two things, the data and the personalities. And that's the problem here. So just one more thing to think about here when we do our blame pie. So you start off. Who are you giving the most blame to, and approximately what percent?
Out of Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, the offense and the pitching.
Yeah.
I will first of all, I'm going to put the caveat in here that I think the players are the one that are actually playing the game. So I will put majority of my blame on the players. So on the offensive side, I'll put about 70% of the blame on the offense right here, because again, it's inexcusable for some of these guys to just completely disappear and in the way that they have. Again, Aaron Judge can only do so much. Giancarlo Stanton, he was out and he's injured, and you've been dealing with injuries for
5 years.
Rizzo and LeMahieu. So those are like your big four bats, and only really one of them has been at or above expectations. So I'll put a majority of the blame on the offense. The pitching side, they were doing great up until the injuries, and even some of the guys that are still going out there, still doing pretty well. So I'll put 10% on the pitching. So we're at 80% here, and I will put 19 other percent on Aaron Boone for being the inept manager that he is, and 1% on Brian Cashman.
Okay.
Because again, I think some of those off-season moves have been very debatable. Again, Josh Donaldson, the IKF trade, and the reluctancy to not deal some prospects, and then at the same time not call them up. So you have Peraza that's sitting in AAA launching ball. Anthony Volpe hit a bomb out of the ballpark the other night. But the Yankees, unlike the Mets, who called up Beatty basically straight from AA, into I think he had like three or four games at AAA before he got called up. So basically, straight from AA to the majors. And the Yankees just aren't willing to do that and roll out with IKF at shortstop when you have clearly two top 30 shortstop prospects and not wanting to call them up for reasons. So I think that's frustrating on that part, but it's not like those two guys are going to come up and save the season, especially when they've called up Cabrera. And I feel like Cabrera has been kind of a little spark plug here, playing all over the place, playing shortstop, playing right field, playing a great right field. And, he didn't really play that much out there in AAA. So it's kind of a surprise there. So that's why so little on Brian Cashman and everybody else got majority of the blame there.
I think my biggest question mark would be the Cashman side of things there, just because half the battle of Boone is what he's dealt, right? Like playing the hand that he's dealt. But a point that I want to make before I give my numbers out is you kind of can't have it both ways as a fan, and you kind of can't have it both ways as a front office and coach. So fans can't sit here and say Boone and Cashman are absolute dog bleep. And I don't know why I said bleep. I curse on this all the time. Absolute dog shit. Like all the time, because clearly they were awesome for the first 3 quarters of the season, give or take, right? They had an amazing run. So were they terrible? Were Boone and Cashman terrible for the entire season? Obviously not. So that becomes a little tricky because fans can't have it both ways. On the other hand, I should say, Cashman can't have it both ways either, because he seems to operate with a reluctancy to lose a trade, a reluctancy to fail. And that's something you can't have as a front office member or as a coach. You can't be afraid of failure. We talked about this many times over the past couple years, equating Brian Cashman to Danny Ainge. There's this huge narrative around Cashman and Ainge in their separate sports here that they don't lose deals. They don't lose trades. They don't lose signings. They only make the right decision, the best decision possible, or else they'll just wait and they'll do nothing, right? So on that front, you can't operate like that when your back's against the wall. You can't operate like that when you have a championship window open. So Cashman holding on to all these prospects, not making the big trade, not making a splash in the offseason, I think he definitely deserves more blame than what you gave him, because the team was doing well, but they were never set up to withstand injury. They had the best pitching injury luck you can ever imagine. For the first 3 quarters of the season, they basically had no starters out of order ever pitch. We said it here. What are the odds that happens for the entire season? Almost zero. And here we are now with pitchers. Montgomery gets dealt, Nestor on the IL, possibly just for some maintenance, but who knows what. And now the entire bullpen's hurt. It is what it is. However, like you said, the spark is so important for this team right now, and Cabrera provided that. Beatty for the Mets here, he didn't really play well. He had a couple nice hits, couple big hits, the home run in his first ever at bat, but he kind of hit like shit. But he came in with an energy. The team had energy around him, and now Escobar comes back and knows there's a dude knocking at the door for his spot, right? Like he comes back with a new energy because he knows there's somebody there looking for his spot. So both sides can't have it both ways, and the front office and Aaron Boone can't manage and can't front office with a fear of failure. They have to go and take a big swing, just like they want all their players to swing for the fences, because that's what the books tell them. That's what they should do as well. So I'm going here, and I'm going to say off the jump, I'm giving 25 and 25% to Boone and Cashman. They're half the blame, 100%. And then I'm going 40% on the hitters. And so the hitters still get the most. The offense gets the most because, like you said, Andrew, the hitters and the players have to play. And any professional athlete should say, I don't need motivation. I'm here to do my job. I'm here to compete for my team and for my contract and for my family and whatever the hell it may be. You hear it in other sports all the time. Like, do rah-rah speeches really win games in the NFL, or do great scheme and great players win games in the NFL? How many times do you never hear about the amazing halftime speech you get in a football game because the team went out and got pummeled anyway, right? So I'm not going to give the most blame to Boone and Cashman. Combined, they have the most, because combined, they could have done a lot more. However, the biggest one is the hitters at 40, the pitchers at 10%. they get the big time benefit of the doubt that they've been holding this thing together all season long. And now the injury bug is so strong that you can't even hate too hard on the pitching staff. So that's my breakdown. 25-25, Boone, Cashman, 40 for the hitters, 10 for the pitchers.
I think that's pretty fair. And I think especially because that Castillo trade might go down as the Cliff Lee trade part 2. If you don't remember, if for those of you out there that don't remember, the Yankees had won the championship in 2019, and then in 2010, after AJ Burnett wasn't pitching so well, 2009, and then 2010, AJ Burnett wasn't pitching so well. They had CC and they had Andy, but the Yankees really needed another, front of the rotation guy. And that's ultimately what prevented them from going back to back. And so they were at the deadline and they had this trade worked out for Cliff Lee. But then, it was Jesus Montero and then another prospect, but he got injured. So the Mariners wanted Eduardo Nunez instead, and Brian Cashman said, I have to hold on to Eduardo Nunez.
Eduardo Nunez.
He's the shortstop of the future, my friends. He is the guy that's going to replace Derek Jeter and as shortstop for us for the next 15 years. And oh my God, he won a World Series ring, but with the Boston Red Sox. But that's neither here nor there. So holding on to Volpe, it just puts so much more pressure on him now to come whenever he does come up to perform and be the guy that said this is the guy who we were holding on to, that we couldn't get Luis Castillo, who's pitching like an absolute ace. And pitching's not the problem for the Yankees, so it's not like on the other hand, that's not the issue. It's not like they didn't trade a big time hitter for him, so that's the other side of the coin, where Volpe's not helping now, and he wouldn't have exactly helped the offense in a trade either. So, but when they're doing so well and the championship window is that wide open, I feel like you might have to do that overpay. And I get that Volpe's a special player, but at the same time, if you need that piece and you think Castillo can be the piece, and there's such a big drop off from Luis Castillo to Montas that that prospect capital might that might just propel the Mariners to the first time being in the playoffs for 20 plus years. So
yeah, I mean, just look at who the Mets
see how it shakes out.
Yep. Look at who the Mets are playing right now. They're playing the Dodgers in a 4-game set. Look, the Dodgers are the Yankees. The Dodgers are the real New York Yankees. If the real New York Yankees please stood up, it would be the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're the ones who have been operating like a big budget team, saying our window's open, we will crush our books and we will win as many championships or make as many World Series as possible because we know that's what it takes. And guess what? They've won one. They've been to many. Have they won 2 now, or they just won 1? They won
just
one,
won in 2020. I'm so glad you said that, Pete. So glad you said that.
I don't know what you're getting. I'll keep talking while you go. So they you switched hats. He switched hats. Andrew is officially not allowed at the parade, but it doesn't matter because the Yankees will never have a parade this year anyway. You have to attack that window when it's open, because in all sports, in all walks of athletics, that window's never as open as you think it is. It never is. I can give you an example from every sport right now. You think about, for good or for bad, you think about the Phoenix Suns last year and this year even as well. Everyone said, oh, the Suns are the best team in the league. They're the favorite for the championship. Well, guess what? Their best player is 37 years old, and your window is not as big as you think it is, because when he's gone, this team's average again. It's a good team, perhaps, in the Western Conference, but the Suns are not the number 1 seed without Chris Paul. You have to go now. If you think about in football, the Los Angeles Rams are like the Dodgers. I don't even understand how the Rams fit inside the salary cap. They have a $15 million player out there to help them win a championship. Yeah, let's get them. We don't need draft picks. We don't need young guys. We need to win right now. That's what it is. That's what the best teams do all the time. And that's why I'm thrilled in what Steve Cohen seems to bring to the table for the New York Mets, and why Yankee fans are fucking miserable right now. And that's just the breakdown of it, because You blink, and next year, like you said, Volpe or Peraza or Cabrera are not hitting, 280 with power or with the great OPS or whatever it may be. And you're going to say, we gave up a chance at an elite season with a chance to win a title for these prospects we had no idea about, and it's going to sting if it doesn't work out. It's going to sting real bad because that window will be closed before you know it.
And they already did it once with a batch of prospects. They did it with Andujar. They did it with Frazier. They did it with Sanchez. They did it with Torres. All those guys who were always there. There were rumors of they were interested in this elite player, but no, they want to hold on to their prospects. They believe in the kids, and then the kids all suck and turn out. And like you said with the Dodgers and their window being open when they won in 2020, guess what they did? They didn't sit on their laurels. They went out and again the move is a little ominous, but they went out and got the reigning Cy Young Award winner in Trevor Bauer at the time, and they spent $45 million, which now he's not playing anymore. But that's the kind of move you want to make. They went deep last year. They went out and get Freddie Freeman. They went out and traded for Mookie Betts. Like they go out and they make these moves because they say we know the window is open, and these are the guys that we're gonna have to, these are Justin Turner's not getting any younger. Clayton Kershaw's not getting any younger. So while we have a bunch of these guys, they're able to bring up a Will Smith, and they're able to trade for Trey Turner. They're able to, develop a Max Muncy and, Chris Taylor and all those guys. Like that, the Dodgers are so stacked, and it's incredible that they're able to do kind of the things that they're able to do. But you have to give it to them. They'll spend money when they need to spend money. They'll go out and get the premier free agent, and they won't let excuses, kind of set them off, and have they made trades where they've maybe regretted guys where they trade Yordan Alvarez and O'Neal Cruz, to get guys, but they were trying to win a championship, and they still have other guys in there to supplement and to try to win. So
and frankly, the Dodgers haven't been the top to bottom juggernaut that they were in the past with offense. They're still best team in the league right now, obviously, but look at who's been carrying them this year. It's Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and Freddie Freeman. 3 guys acquired, none of which were Dodger guys brought up through the minors and et cetera. They went out and got studs. They got talent. And they went for it, and they're going for it currently. And even about the Astros, right? Like the Astros said, all right, Carlos Correa, we got a lot out of you. Like, go on, go get your money. We have prospects, but they had prospects they trusted in who are in the major leagues right now playing very well. And they're a really good team. It's mind blowing, but we can't talk about this much longer. We gotta switch over to the Mets. Any last words here on the Yankees, Andrew?
No, man, I'm too depressed to go on.
Well, now you have a Dodgers hat in the Mets segment, and I'm a little upset about it, but that's okay. The New York Mets, they're currently down 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth inning here against the Dodgers in their first game of a long series. But we're not obviously going to talk about this in particular. They're playing the best team in the league. Really what you want to see out of the Mets here is a true competitiveness where they aren't getting blown out. If they go 1-3 in this 4-game set, but it's 4-3, 3-2, they win 5-3, whatever. That does say something. And obviously the Braves are playing the Rockies right now. But my big question on the Mets here is the tier that they sit in. So Andrew, my first question, the Dodgers, are they in a tier of their own? Would you say that any other team in the National League or in the league for that matter is in the same tier as the Dodgers, or do they sit atop the tiers?
I definitely think that's an accurate statement that the Dodgers are kind of they're alone. Just for the pitching, unfortunately, they lost Walker Buehler for the year, but they got Dustin May back, so they switched high-end starters out. They still have a great offense, as we talked about, great bullpen. So I think they're definitely the cream of the crop.
Okay, so they're in a tier of their own, a league of their own, if you will. Shout out the great movie. Moving on, though, then is the next tier the Mets and Braves and maybe Cardinals? Is that the next tier? And if so, how do you stack up the Mets against those teams?
Are you talking just the National League? Are
Yeah,
we talking
let's
baseball overall?
go National League for now, because I mean, bringing up the Astros in
Yeah,
regards to the Mets
yeah.
makes no.
It's Dodgers 1, and then I'd say the Mets are 1A. I think there's not a team. I'll say all that about the Dodgers, but there's not a team that I rather would not face in a short playoff series than the New York Mets, because of DeGrom, because of Scherzer, because of Bassett, and the other starters that they do have, that they'll be able to, you only need 3 or 4 starters in the postseason. They have plenty of other starters that be able to throw into a bullpen and kind of make up for some of those middle innings there. So there's not a team I wouldn't want to face more in a short series than the New York Mets. So I would definitely say, and as far as the National League, the second best team in that league are the Mets.
Okay. So I do agree with you as well. The question, or the reason why I asked the question, is because the Braves are so on their ass, and this division is definitely not set in stone. We don't know that the Mets are going to definitely win this division. Their chances to make the playoffs might be 99.9 still, which is a great thing, but there is a real possibility they do not win the division and still can go into the playoffs with some momentum and some expectation here. So that's why I kind of wanted to break out that question there, because a lot of people who aren't Mets fans will try to push buttons of Mets fans and say, yo, the Braves are right there. The Braves are right there. Yeah, they are. We know that. The Braves are freaking good. And they probably have a better offense than the Mets, but they don't have the top end pitching that we have. And in all, it's probably pretty equal in the season series. We won 8-7. So, take that for what it's worth. But this team is built for the playoffs with the pitching. I do have some question marks on the hitting right now. But all in all, what scares you the most? Like, is it a particular position, a position group, a lineup malfunction perhaps that you don't love? What scares you the most with the Mets? Because the way they're built, it feels pretty balanced, but in reality, they have been kind of relying on streaks from like 3 guys at a time. So when you look at this Mets offense or this Mets team in general, what does scare you? What would give you pause going into a series in the playoffs?
Yeah, I would definitely say the offense more than anything else. Like I said, the starting rotation is what their strength is going to be on. And again, once you have, Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett, those 3 guys, you could put Walker or Peterson or Carrasco, all those guys into the bullpen. So that only strengthens everybody. It's the offense. That bottom of the order where it's going to be Escobar and McCann's going to get a lot of at bats. And, either going to have Canna or Naquin or someone down there for, platoon reasons. So if those platoon guys aren't kind of doing their job, and kind of get caught up with, the elite pitching that you're going to face in the playoffs, that would concern me very greatly, come playoff time.
Yeah, the hitting is obviously it, right? Mark
Yeah.
Canha has actually been off the charts for the past couple
Yes.
weeks. He's been insane. He's on fire.
Yeah, the home run tonight was bonkers. Was a
Yeah, the home run
blast.
tonight. He has 7 doubles in the last 2 weeks. The real question mark right now for the Mets is Pete Alonso is struggling. He is
Mhm.
not. He hit a home run a couple days ago. He's still running into one every once in a while, but he's not a consistent hitter right now. Lindor, I mean, if I had a
Struggling
dollar,
a little bit.
yeah, if I had a dollar for every time Lindor went 1 for 20 for a stretch,
Mhm.
or if I heard the broadcaster say, "Oh, there's Lindor's first hit in the last 4 games," I'm like, "Oh, damn!" But then he'll go on like a stretch of 3 games where he'll have 3 home runs and a bunch of hits or something like that. So it is kind of balancing itself out. But the offense is not perfect. However, there is a confidence with the lineup construction every single day, and it's something that Yankee fans can attest to not having. Right, where
Mhm.
Nimmo is a good leadoff guy. Marte has been
Marte
very,
too.
very good all year. Lindor, we just talked about the up and down, but he is still one of the better hitters on the team. Alonso being the big linchpin power guy for this team. Canna, McNeil's been on fire as well for a couple weeks now. But the lineup makes sense every day. And that's something that a lot of teams strive for. And some of the best teams in the league, like the Yankees, don't always reach. Right. So that is the only saving grace to me for this lineup, that there's
Mhm.
true continuity and there's a true sense to the structure. Now, the black hole that is James McCann, it sucks. Tomasino's been a better hitter than him. Didn't know that was possible. But yeah, there's reason to believe that the continuity and the structure of this offense can get them far enough. But yeah, I would be lying if there was no pause at all with that offense.
Yeah, James McCann has just been an absolute black hole, and it's unfortunate that Francisco Alvarez is struggling as much as he is in AAA. Like, obviously, he's even though he still has a 340 on base percentage in AAA, but he's still hitting only a buck 80 in 32 games, 6 home runs in 32 games. But if he was doing, if he was hitting like he was hitting in AA right now, I could totally see Mets fans just being even more frustrated with McCann than they are currently, because it's just not good at bats. And he always seems to find himself up there where with men on base. So that's even more frustrating to watch him. Just know he's kind of, again, more like Aaron Hicks in a sense. So you just know he's just not going to put up a good at bat and just be donezo. But
and another guy for the Mets there, there's talks about is Mark Vientos, who's a bat straight up. He's just a bat who can come up and possibly help out. If they do so in September to see what they have, I would be happy to do so. And I think it's a type of thing that you trust Buck Showalter, right? Like, you keep Beatty around with Escobar in there, you bring this guy Vientos up, and you trust Buck to push on all those buttons. Darren Roof hasn't been that great. Naquin's been up and down. Vogelbach's been very good as a DH and getting a ton of at-bats. It's been nice to see. But you trust Buck to push the right buttons, to give guys a chance to bring some energy to this team. And like I mentioned before with Beatty, he didn't hit well, but there was an energy around him being in the lineup as this new blood with some pop and a beautiful swing that did help this team despite his numbers not helping the team.
Yeah. 100% agree. Couldn't agree more. And that's kind of what September call-ups are for. Like, I get that the Mets are still in a pretty tight division race, but if you can Vientos, if you can call him up in September and provide a little bit of spark, or kind of see what you have, maybe he can be pinch runner type or something like that, and come playoff time, or hell, if he has a hot September, maybe Buck able to find some at bats for him come playoff time. So there's very little downside in it. So it's not like he's going to take someone's job. That kind of, it's not like he can catch and take McCann's job. So I feel like Buck will put him in a good position to win. And the Mets just lost, by the way.
Yeah, they did. The Mets did lose, and that's okay. But they do have in the schedule coming up 2 series with Pittsburgh, 2 series with Miami, and a couple other series that aren't too challenging. So hopefully they get fat there and they do win this division. But obviously the Braves, very good team, on their ass. We'll see what happens there. All right, Andrew, any last words for baseball in general, or are we ready for some football talk?
No, let's talk some football, my friend.